So I think most of y'all knew that this was coming. We are talking about two of the most coveted, talked about, discussed, hypothesized center targets on the market. And I will say, I am kind of in danger here because I'm recording this audio the night before. If these guys end up signing or getting traded by the time this video is public on YouTube, then I will look like the ultimate fool. I say that literally every time. I have to say that as insurance, just in case a Duncan Keith to Edmonton situation happens like it did a few years ago, where I say that the trade was rejected and then by the time the scheduled upload gets publicized on YouTube, it's like, hey, wait a minute, no, the guy actually did get traded. Ha ha, Lego, you stink. But now, we're not talking about Duncan Keith, we're talking about Marco Rossi of the Minnesota Wild, and we are also talking about Mason McTavish of the Anaheim Ducks. Because earlier this week, you had yourselves Cam Robinson making an appearance on Schaefer and Price. This clip in particular is of the Elite Prospects guru talking about Elias Pettersson. Of course, Schaefer and Price is a Vancouver-based show, so there's a big focus on Vancouver topics. But Cam Robinson doesn't just straight up talk about Elias and the Canucks. Oh no. He talks about the Vancouver Canucks and some other second-line center options. Big shout-out, as always, to Canucks News Summaries, Canucks Army contributor and one of the best Twitter accounts on the market to go out there and read what it is that folks are talking about when it comes to Vancouver Canucks news. What I love about Canucks News Summaries, I will always give them props for this, is the fact that they just don't stick to Canucks News Summaries. Even though they're called Canucks News Summaries once in a while, especially in a very dead off-season like this one, they'll post a summary of a recap of something that's not really Canucks-related. They'll say, hey, good info here, not Canucks-related, but still, here's a summary of some Saravalli stuff or whatever. So, big shout out to Canucks News Summaries for making this summer a lot more digestible, but I wanted to go out there and talk about Cam Robinson's take and updates on second-line center options for the Canucks. Take a look at this. Cam imagines clarity on this spot is still weeks away. You have to assume that the Canucks are hoping that Filip Chytil will be healthy and he can fill that spot at second-line center. People are coming back from vacation, but training camp is the next pinch point. We'll maybe start to see some trades league-wide at the end of August and into early September. Now, I just gotta say, man, sorry, Cam, I love your reporting, I love your work, but if this offseason has taught me anything, it's that we can't be sure when NHL analysts say, oh yeah, we'll see trades at this time, we'll see moves, we'll see guys going out there and getting swapped around. That's what they all said at the beginning of July. Oh yeah, we didn't see much movement, but we gotta see some trades soon, so this summer might be filled with a lot of them. And guess what? What's the biggest trade that we saw? Daniel Guschin? Dakota Joshua? There hasn't really been much, and so I'll believe it when I see it. Hopefully Cam is right, though, and we actually do start to see some trades go down end of August, early September, training camp being the next pinch point for these teams to finalize their rosters. Maybe we get some waiver wire action. Maybe Artur Shelovs gets sent down in Pittsburgh. Who really knows? But this is what Cam goes out there and talks about in regards to the centers that we are diving into. He has always felt that Mason McTavish will stay in Anaheim. The guy wants a big long-term deal, and the Ducks want a bridge contract. Cam wonders if a Quinton Byfield-type contract is the solution. Cam also checked around on Marco Rossi, and nothing has changed. Haven't talked contract since early June. There's more potential that he gets dealt than Mason McTavish. And that in itself is a very interesting update, that Rossi and the Wild, they still haven't gone out there and discussed shop. This is a tweet posted by NHL Rumor Report that also dives into some Cam comments about Rossi. Training camp will be kind of where rubber meets the road. Are you going to sit out? I think that's maybe the direction that this conversation is going in, Cam says on Schaefer and Price. And so now, we are living in a world where Marco Rossi, there is potential here for the guy to not even get traded or signed. He could just sit out the year. Does he go the full season and do what William Nylander, for example, was unable to do all those years ago? Does he pull off a William Nylander and just ends up signing right before the deadline to actually play in the NHL in 25-26? If y'all needed the refresher on that, let's head over onto William Nylander and his profile over here. So, when Nylander was coming off of his entry-level contract, the guy was in a pretty big crossroads. He was really good at the end of 2017-18, 61 points, 82 games played, but heading into that summer, the guy wanted money. Matthews and Marner were making money. So all of a sudden, it was Williams' turn. And you see here, he only had 54 games played and 27 points. That's because in this season, he ended up signing in the middle of December, right before the eligibility expired for him to actually play in that NHL season. That's why the cap hit here reads $10 million, because the contract was signed so late, and the guy just tried to pinch whatever it is that he could have out of Kyle Dubas and the Maple Leafs. Lo and behold, it ultimately worked out long-term for William Nylander. He's making $11.5 million right now, and he is a very good 90-point caliber player for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But will Marco Rossi do the same? Will he hold out? Is there a trade to be had? Are the Wild going to be satisfied with any of these packages? And is Marco Rossi going to hold himself out by saying, yeah, no, I'm not going to play by your terms, Minnesota. Y'all want to sign me to a short-term bridge deal. I can't guarantee my job security with this team. Therefore, it's kind of dangerous for me to sign a short-term, middling kind of contract, which is what you want because you don't believe in me as a player long-term. You don't believe a player who's only 5'9", 192 can actually be productive and be impactful, even though in the playoffs with limited minutes, the guy scored 2 goals and 1 assist in 6 games and 60 points in the regular season. I'd say that Rossi's pretty good, but the Wild don't really think so. Meanwhile, if you think about Mason McTavish and the Anaheim Ducks, things are even more slippery over there. This guy is pretty good, and he does fit that style that Anaheim has. It's just, at this point, it doesn't really seem like there is much of a fit with another team. The Ducks have cap space, and there was always this idea that he would stick around in Anaheim. If a Quinton Byfield contract is the solution, then we can go out there and take a look at what Byfield QB 55 ended up getting in LA. He had himself an interesting contract situation, very different from the William Nylander situation in Toronto, but Byfield ended up signing $6.25 million a year for 5 seasons till the end of 28-29. Mason McTavish, could he be in that dollar amount territory? You can say that reasonably, based off of the production he had this season, he's maybe worth $5.5-ish million when you consider the age. You see he's 22, he's a center, he plays a premium position. There is food for thought to get this guy up there to a little bit more of an expensive deal, especially if you go longer term. But Mason McTavish wants job security too. He doesn't want to be behind Mikael Granlund, Strome, and of course Leo Carlsson. Is this guy going to be a 4th-line center option for Anaheim? Probably not. He can play wing, and even some of the other guys can play wing as well. I mean, Granlund is very versatile. He can play wherever you need him to play in the lineup. Strome, I think he excels more so as a center. Carlsson, too. So I just kind of wonder what the future holds for Mason McTavish. It's going to be really hard to pry him away from Anaheim, and that's kind of where Cam Robinson is going out there and talking about it. So in regards to the Vancouver Canucks, I mean, even though the Canucks have checked around on Marco Rossi, even though they've been linked to Mason McTavish, it doesn't seem like a trade is likely at this point. But who knows? Who knows if these guys end up signing contracts soon? Who knows if these guys end up getting traded for soon? We'll have to wait and see, but for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this Rossi and McTavish update. How do you feel about these guys being Vancouver Canucks targets, and what are your thoughts on them on the market as a whole? What teams do Marco Rossi and Mason McTavish end up playing for in 2025-2026? And bonus question, what teams do these guys end up playing for in 2026-2027? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.